professor and previous vice president of the International Diabetes Federation in Portugal. Also, he is a leading diabetes professor and chairman of organizations. And Professor Louis Gardette is going to talk about diabetes epidemiology. Welcome, Professor Louis, and we wish you to be present in our next event.
Thank you very much for your kind words. First of all, good afternoon to everybody. I am speaking from Lisbon, from Porto, is close to Lisbon, and it's really a pity not to be in Cairo in Egypt, but if we expect next year we'll be there. Thank you very much, and I want to say thank you to my friend Ines to this kind invitation. So I will speak some minutes about epidemiology of diabetes. I go to speak a little about numbers of diabetes. When we speak about numbers of diabetes, we speak about the atlas of the IDF. Last atlas of the IDF was launched 2 years ago in 2019, and we expect the new atlas could be launched next December in the IDF meeting, virtual meeting about diabetes and complications. So let's see the numbers of the 2019 atlas, which is the last credible numbers. And in this paper, in this slide, you can see the prevalence of diabetes in all the world. As you know, diabetes is a major health issue that has reached alarming levels. Today, near 500 million are living with diabetes on the worldwide. Number of people with diabetes worldwide and per IDF region, I will show after, but we think in the next 20, 25 years, this number will be duplicated. So, in this picture, you see in 2019, 9.3 of prevalence, which represents more than 463 millions of people in all the world. And in this number are people with diabetes and people with diagnosed people and people with undiagnosed people. And we expect next 20, 25 years, 700 people with diabetes. Always, these numbers are always underestimated. When we speak, when we see the down the numbers of people with pre-diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance, we have 7.5, which represents more or very close to 400 million of people with pre-diabetes, and we expect more than 548 millions of people with diabetes next 20, 24 years. And about children and adolescents, we know we have every year something like 128,000 new cases in all the world, and we have 1,110,000 people in all the world, children and adolescents, people under 19 years old. Well, this is the number of people with diabetes globally between 20 and 79 years old, and by regions, by IDF regions. And in this circle, you have exactly where we are in the Middle East and North Africa. We have 55 millions of people with diabetes. And we expect next 20, 24 years, 108 millions of people with diabetes, which represents an increase of 96%, which is very high compared with the other regions, except Africa, where we have an increase expected 143%. Another side, we can see Europe, where we have more or less 59 millions of people with diabetes, and we expect an increase of 15%. So We have another places like North America and Caribbean with 33% of increase, or Southeast Asia with 74% of increase. These are really numbers very high. We must fight against diabetes in all the world. So when we see the country distribution, here you can see the top 10 number of adults between the 20 and 79 years old with diabetes. In 19th, what we expect in 1345, and naturally, as we expect, China is in top 10. And in second place, in position 2, we have India, and after we have United States. And what about Egypt? Egypt have 8.9 millions of people with diabetes between 20 and 79 years old, and is in this top 10 is in position 9, but in 2045 we expect to have the position 7 with the double of diabetes we have now. If we go to top 10 countries of territories for age-adjusted comparative prevalence in diabetes, we have naturally, or respect countries in the islands or territories in the islands of Pacific. And the countries that have the highest number of people with diabetes do not necessarily have the highest prevalence. The age-adjusted comparative diabetes prevalence in 2019 are the Marshall Islands, Kiribati, and Sudan, which is not very far from Egypt. Marshall Islands is expected to have the highest age-adjusted comparative diabetes prevalence in 2030, 2045. With the comparative prevalence, we adjust the population, put in layers of age. If all the country, all the world have the same layers of age. So we found these islands by several reasons with a very high prevalence. And about pre-diabetes, the country with the highest number of people of this age, with this group, with IGTT in 2019 are China, as we expect, United States of America, Indonesia. It is projected that by 2045, India will exceed Indonesia. It will be the third in terms of number of people aged 20, 39 with IGT. In 2019, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, and New Zealand have the highest age-adjusted comparative prevalence of IGT. Let's see now the number of people, the countries or territories which have a percentage of undiagnosed diabetes. In all the world, the percentage of undiagnosed diabetes are more or less 40–50% of people we know are diabetes. So China is in the top with 56. United States is a lower place with 38% of the people are undiagnosed, and Egypt have 54.4% in all the diabetes with undiagnosed diabetes. In my country, we have more or less 40% of people are undiagnosed. Well, the top 10 of territories with the number of people older than 65 years old with diabetes. Naturally, we found that China in top of the top 10. In second place, we have the United States. In China, we have 35 millions of people, and we expect in the next 20–24 years, this number will be the double. We have the United States, and in the third position, India, which will change with United States next 20–24 years, and will be in second position. And what happened about the urban and rural distribution. This slide you can see perfectly what are happening. In 2019, more people with diabetes live in urban, 310 millions, than in rural areas, 150 millions. The prevalence in the urban area being 10.8 and in rural area 7.2. The number of people with diabetes in urban areas is expected to increase to 415 millions in 2030 and 538 millions in 2045 as a result of the global urbanization, as we know, we all know about this. And these columns are show exactly what will happen in next 20, 24 years. About children, in the first slide I show, we have under 19 years old, which is down, 19 years old, we have new case, 128,000 new case a year. And we know we have now 1,110,000 cases in all the country. But as I said, these cases are usually underestimated, and certainly the numbers will be higher. Which about incidence of diabetes in the population with type 1 diabetes. As everybody knows, the countries of the north of Europe is highest incidence rate and Finland is always in the top. In second place, we have Sweden, but surprisingly, we have in third place Kuwait in position 5, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar in 8th position. And in other place, certainly we expect we have countries very close to Finland, like Sweden or like Denmark. They have, of course, by several reasons, highest prevalent incidence of type 1 diabetes. And the proportion and number of adults who die from diabetes before the age of 60 in 2019, we have here in this slide by IDF region. In any way, in this number, this percentage is 46 in all the world, and in the MENA region where we are, we have 53. In my country, we did a large study. When we compare people who died before the age of 60, people with diabetes and people without diabetes, we see people with diabetes lost more or less 8 years of life. This is a tremendous information. Very hard, must be changed with more care, more diabetes care, health. And how these countries, all the countries in the world spend money in diabetes care. Switzerland is, this is in US dollars, is the country who spend more money per person, 11,000. And the top 10, we have the last one, Austria, with 5,000. Well, anyway, spend more money not means always a better diabetes care. And you see, in the United States, it's not a very the best place to use this money. Anyway, Switzerland, or we have Sweden, or Ireland, they have a very good national health service with a very good diabetes care. And when we see about the difference, how these countries, these governments spend money, spending money to these people who needs care. What happened in high-income countries? They spend more or less 5,000 US dollars per capita, and the low-income they spend $128 per capita, with this tremendous difference in this kind of care people who needs diabetes care. And finally, we'll show the numbers of IDF Middle East and North Africa region, which is from the last Atlas of Diabetes. As I said, next 2 months we have the new Atlas. And we have a regional prevalence of 12.8, which represents 54 millions of people with diabetes. And we expect the double next 24 years, more than 100 million of people with diabetes. About pre-diabetes 1.3, but represents 35 millions of people. The undiagnosed, the 45.7, which represents 24 million of people are undiagnosed. And about children's, we have 20,000 new cases a year, and with new cases, the cases of children's and adolescents, 149,000. So in 2019, IDF estimates that 1 in 11 have diabetes in the world, 1 in 2 adults with diabetes are undiagnosed. Over 3 in 4 people with diabetes lives in low or middle income countries. 10% of global health expenditure is spent on diabetes. 1 in 13 between 2013 and 2009 have pre-diabetes. 1 in 5 with diabetes are above 64 years old. 1,110,000 children and adolescents we have with type 1 in all the world. 1 in 6 sleep births are affected by hyperglycemia in pregnancy. And thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Obrigado, Professor Louis Gardette, for the distinguished talk and the summary for the IDF Atlas 2019. We are eagerly expecting the sooner to be released 2021 Atlas, and looking forward welcoming you to present its data in Cairo very soon. Thanks so much, and for the time being, I wish to ask the audience if there are any questions for Professor Louis. Okay, that's great. That seems to be well understood and digested. And now I'll ask Professor Ayman Al-Manoufi to introduce the next speaker.